this tutorial we will learn how to make this attack, and when we gonna attack on our enemy just gonna take damage. So we're gonna make this in this video. Before I jump into this tutorial, special credit goes to Nisala Gonesekara, Kanting Patu and Alex Nadu for supporting me on Patreon and unlocking exclusive benefits. And if you are guys interested, then you can go and check out my Patreon page. I will have the link in the description. So let's get into this tutorial. To make the attack, create a player script, something like that, or player attack, and attach the script to your player game object, which I already did. So I'm gonna open up my player script, and to make the attack we're gonna create a function for our attack. So let's make it somewhere over here. We can make it anywhere, so I'm gonna make it over here, and we will mark this function as public because we're gonna call this function through our animation event. It means whenever we're playing the attack animation of this player, which I am doing, I'm gonna show that. So if you can see we playing the attack animation, I have two attack animation, you can notice. So I'm gonna call it through over here through animation event. So that's why we need to mark that function as public. And for function we're gonna type void, and I'm gonna call it something like attack. Let's make first bracket and some curly brackets. And to create the circle, basically we're gonna create a circle from our attack point. If you haven't created the attack point, then create it from that. We're gonna create the circle. Select your player in the hierarchy, right click, create an empty child game object, animate to something like attack point, and make sure you just move it center and check with your attack animation, which I already did. You can see over here. This is my attack point, and now I have that. So we're gonna create a circle from that point, and if that circle collide with this enemy, then this enemy just gonna take damage from our player. So let's go over to our script, and to create that we need to use this physics 2d dot overlap circle function. And this circle function, this overlap circle function, as a first parameter it will take the position. So we need to pass the position from where we want to create the circle. Second thing, it's gonna take the radius of that circle, and the third parameter, it's gonna take the layer mask, means which game object we really want to target. So make sure you select your enemy and you assign your enemy as a enemy layer. Go to inspector, click on layer, then click on add layer, name the layer what you just name it, and assign with the layer which you recently created. And you can see I have assigned my enemy as a enemy layer because I just want to damage my enemy. So now we're gonna make this one comment by double forward slash, and let's come at the top of our class and let's declare those variable because we need them. So the first thing, we need the position. So we're gonna make a public transform for responsible for position, and we can call it attack position or attack point, and I'm gonna call it something like attack point. Second thing, we need the radius. So let's make a public float, and we can call it attack radius. And by default I'm gonna give something like 1 unit radius. And the third parameter, we need the layer mask. So let's make a public layer mask, and we can call it target layer, damage layer. I'm gonna call it something like what is enemy. So let's call it what is enemy. Now I'm gonna take my attack point, let's drag it over to this attack point field, and attack radius I just made 0.82. I can make it 1 as well, but 0.2, it's 0.82 is fine to me. And what is enemy, I'm gonna choose my enemy layer because I want to damage my enemy. And now let's go over to our that function, and we just have those, basically those parameters. Now we can just remove these forward slashes. So as a first argument we're gonna put our attack point. So let's put attack point dot position. Second thing, we will pass out our radius. So let's pass attack radius. And third parameter, we will put our what is enemy, since we want to damage our enemy. So this function just gonna create the circle from our attack point with attack radius, and it's gonna target this enemy. And let's suppose the circle is really collided with this enemy game object, then this function just gonna give us a true value, or else it's just gonna give us a false value. So we can store it into a bool parameter which can be true or false. but we're gonna store it into a collider 2D because this just gonna work like as a collision. So we're gonna make a collider 2D parameter, so we can create a collider 2D, and let's call it something like call info, short for collision information, and let's set equal to this. So whatever just gonna this function just gonna keep us, and we're storing into this call info, or you can simply see that we just directly setting it. So this call info can be true or false depending upon if the circle is really colliding with this enemy or not. Let's suppose if it's colliding with this enemy, then this function just gonna be true. This over here will be true. So that's why this call info will be true, because we directly setting it. And now we're gonna check that if. So let's use the if condition, and we will check if our call info parameter is true, is equals to true, or we can just leave like this. It also means true. It means the circle colliding with our enemy. So right now what this enemy really need to do, it needs to take damage from our player. For now we're gonna print out a message. So we're gonna type this debug.log, and we're gonna say something like call info dot game object dot name, and top of that, so plus we can add a custom message inside quotation, something like I'm gonna say takes damage, just like that, damage, and we're gonna close that up with semicolon. And call info dot game object basically means the game object the circle collided with. So in this situation it's gonna collide with this enemy, so call info dot game object there basically means this enemy, and we accessing the name, and the name we can see enemy underscore 9. So the message should be pop up enemy underscore 9 takes damage as soon as we're gonna call the attack function. However, we're not able to see the circle from this attack point. To see that or to draw that, we need to use another function. So we need to use this function called on draw gizmo selected. If you haven't included, then include this function and make sure you spell it correct, and you can ignore this line of code over here. So to draw the circle, we need to use the gizmos.draw where sphere function. But before we draw, we need to check if we assign it the attack point or not. So let's use the if condition, and we will check over here if our attack point, if attack point is not equal to null. It means our attack point field is not empty at all. It means we just assign it our attack point. It means we are ready to draw the circle. To draw that, let's use this gizmos dot draw where sphere function, and this function as a first parameter it's gonna take the position. So let's put our attack point dot position, and the second thing attack radius. So let's put our attack radius, and we can choose the color as well, the color we would like to draw with, or we can just leave it as it is. So I'm going to choose a red color. So I'm going to set gizmos dot color, the color I would like to draw with. So I'm going to set color dot red, just like that. Now we can see the the red circle that we created. Basically we just created the circle, and we can witness that from this attack point. And now we need to call the attack function. So we're going to call it through attack. So I'm going to call the function over here, and we need to increase the attack radius, as you can notice. So I'm going to make the attack radius something like 1.25, and now we're going to call it, and this will be the perfect time to call the function. So to call that, click on this add event inside your animation tab, go over to inspector. It says no function selected, so let's click on it, and we will go to player script methods or function, and now we're going to choose our attack function that we created inside our player script. You can see right over here we basically going over to this player script, and we calling out this function, and we do know what this function is really doing. And now let's go over to Unity, select our console tab, and let's play our game quickly. Let's go get closer to our enemy, and if I attack my enemy, we can see the message just getting pop up says enemy underscore 9 takes damage. So instead of printing out message, we're gonna call out the take damage function from this enemy script, which I already did. If you are confused about it, and if you don't know how to make the take damage function, of course I will have a video in the description, you can go and check it out. So I'm gonna call the function. So now instead of printing out message, I'm gonna call the take damage function. Before we call the take damage function, we just want to check if the enemy if the script is sitting on this enemy or not. So if I choose my enemy underscore 9, we can see the enemy script is attached to this enemy game object. So it's basically we are ready to damage. So we're gonna use the if condition before we damage our enemy, and we will check that if call info dot game object dot, and we're gonna get the enemy script. So we're gonna use this get component, and the component or the script we're looking for enemy, and make this first bracket if it's not equal to null. It means the game call info dot game object, we do know it means the game object the circle collided with. So in our case this will be this enemy, and we're getting the enemy script, and we're checking if it's not equal to null. It means the enemy script is sitting on this enemy game object, and indeed we can notice the enemy script attached to this enemy game object. It means we can call out the take damage function from this enemy script by now, which I made it over. I'm gonna show you as you can see right over here. So we can simply call out the take damage function there. So let's call that. To call it, first thing I will go to my enemy game object, which is called info.game object, and now we're gonna go over to our enemy script. So we're gonna use .get component, and the component or the script looking for is enemy, then make this first bracket, and now I'm gonna call the take damage function, and as in damage amount I'm gonna pass 1, and let's save our script, and let's head again to Unity editor. Now if we try to damage this enemy, indeed we can notice this enemy now taking damages, and once it loses all of his health it just get destroyed itself. So I hope you get the idea that how you can do this, and I will see you in the next tutorial.